Here we go. You are listening to The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquazi, not on KSMR Radio. Today we're from Chicago in my bedroom, if you can't tell. On YouTube, that's the only place where we are broadcasting. So as I put in the chat, we are not going to be taking calls today, but we are going to be taking 16-second Squeeze contestant calls. So here we go. I mean, it's going to be kind of funny for me. We've never done this before. Of course, this summer, I'm probably going to be doing it a little bit more often because I want to have a microphone in my face. And this is the only way to do that because I won't be in Winona for KSMR Radio. The sound quality is a little bit off. If you can see the blanket right there in the corner is for acoustics. That's our best effort to limit the echo in this room. But you know what? We're gonna make do with what we have. It was a very fun and exciting day at St. Mary's yesterday. Sadly, I couldn't be there to see both the women's basketball team and the men's basketball team take down Gustavus College. Great wins for both teams for the first time in 39 years. The men sweep the Gustavus Gusties in the MIAC set, and the women moved one step closer to a home playoff game, and we're going to talk about that in just 1 second. But before that, I realized that Colin and I last weekend did not say a lick. We didn't say a word about the NFC or AFC championship game, which, you know, hindsight's 2020. Probably should have talked about it. It was only the biggest sporting event going on that day. Probably should have mentioned at least something about it. But both games happened as they tend to do. And something happened in the NFC championship game that I really have a strong opinion about. You heard Alec and I a couple weekends ago talking about the Bears, Anthony Miller blown call, basically. It was the correct call when they said that he didn't have possession of the football and they couldn't march downfield. But he literally caught the pass, if you do remember. So by the letter of the law, they made the right call. But isn't the point of refereeing and isn't the point of sport to get the call correct, no matter what the rules say? It just... sometimes we can get caught up in the minutia of rules and instructions, and we don't realize that, hey, he caught the gosh darn ball. We probably should give him a first down. And that same thing happened in the Rams and Saints game. Now, you've been hearing a lot, if you've not been living under a rock this week and you've turned ESPN on even once, they've talked about reviewing every call. Now, I don't think you can review every call. That would be absolutely ridiculous. Just look at NBA basketball. There's timeouts, there's free throws, and a coach can go to the ref and say, hey, take a look at that one. And they have to look at it in the last 2 minutes. Now, if you did that in football, a game that is already pretty slow and some say boring at times, then viewership would obviously go down. My idea is just let the coaches keep their 2 challenges, maybe 3 if they get it right, and then let them challenge anything. They only get 2, and a lot of times the coaches don't even use both of the challenges. But a call like that to end the game, basically, and give the Rams the win over the Saints it's reprehensible. It doesn't make any sense to me. The point of sport is to decide the winner, the fair winner. The Rams weren't the fair winner in that game. The Saints were about to score a touchdown on that play. And it was obviously a pass interference call that was not made. If Sean Payton could have gone back and reviewed the call, we might be saying, we might be talking about a much better Super Bowl here in next week, Patriots and Saints. So what I'm saying is, NFL, announce that you got it wrong. Tell us all that you got it wrong. And just change the rule a little bit. You don't have to make it so that we can review every call, every single play, but make it so that coaches can choose to review what they want to review. It doesn't really make sense to me, and I don't know if it makes sense to you, that we don't get the calls correct all the time. Isn't that what we want? Isn't that the point of instant replay? There are some calls that are so obviously wrong that we can't review, that coaches can't review because it's in the rules. And that just doesn't make sense to me. And it's just like the Anthony Miller play that we talked about 2 weeks ago. If they got that call, maybe they got the call correct, but if they just used common sense, it would have been Bears football, and we might be talking about a different Super Bowl again. This is now 2 playoff games in which refereeing and rules have gotten in the way of fair play, in my opinion. That's what this is. This is The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquesi. Normally, I'm with Alec Rude, and last week we were with Colin Stair. I want to thank Colin again for doing such an awesome job last weekend. But again, not in Winona. Alec Rude is in Aspen, Colorado for the ESPN X Games, Winter X Games. They're doing St. Mary's does a great program with that. I think there's some 17 Cardinals out there at the X Games getting a lot of on-job experience, and now they can all put on their resume, hey, I worked for ESPN. So maybe next year I should get on that because I think that would look good on my resume. I feel just a little bit off, which is fine. Normally I do a radio show. That's what The Squeeze is on KSMR radio. But right now I'm looking into a camera and talking on a YouTube live stream. It's just a whole different thing. And I'm a little bit uncomfortable with it. But you know what? It's fun. This is what I love to do. I love to talk sports with you. 630-670-6330 is the phone number if you want to win a Squeeze t-shirt. You know how to win that t-shirt, and that is with the 16-second Squeeze. It's a different number this week. 630-670-6330 is that phone number. Call in just a bit when we go to break for your chance to win that free Squeeze t-shirt. Coming up right after the break, we're going to talk women's basketball. Very, very exciting team, and I was just talking with my girlfriend a little bit earlier about how fun it is to actually be able to have an opinion about a St. Mary's sports team and really talk about the strategy and how they're going to have to band together and beat this gauntlet of a schedule that they have down the stretch in order to make that home playoff spot. And last night was one step closer to that. So we're going to talk about that coming up right after the break. You're listening to The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquesi. 630-670-6330 is the phone number if you want to win that free t-shirt. Thanks for listening, and we'll be right back. Okay, you are listening to The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquesi, normally on KSMR Radio, right now broadcasting live on YouTube at Anthony Pasquesi. That's the name of the YouTube channel. That's also my name. Normally on KSMR Radio, 92.5 FM on campus and 94.3 FM in Winona, Minnesota. But again, we're not on the air today. This is a YouTube live stream. Or the first show that we did, I said, no, this is a radio show that we're just putting on YouTube. Well, today, the YouTube audience is the only audience. We don't have the thousands listening on the radio that we normally do. Thousands of millions. You know, I'm a pretty big deal up there in Winona. But on the YouTube live stream, only 5 people. That's okay, because we're going to talk St. Mary's women's basketball, arguably the most exciting team on campus, and I'd say objectively the best team on campus. They are tied for third place in the MIAC with the Bethel Royals. And if you did tune in last weekend, you heard me tell you that they were tied with 4 teams for third place. They have since taken down the Gustavus Gusties and the St. Benedict Bennies in 2 back-to-back games. Both of those teams were tied with them. On Wednesday is when they took down those St. Benedict Bennies 66-60. That was a game that I had the honor of calling with Chris Shepard, Chris on the play-by-play, myself with the color commentary. And the first thing that I said, this was in the research that I did, I looked at Brooklyn Paulson. Brooklyn Paulson is a freshman. She's second on the team in scoring right now with 12 points per game, and she's shooting about 40% from the three-point line, an absolute sharp shooter. Last year, Alexi Huseman was the one graduating senior from this team that made the playoffs. Those were big shoes to fill. She was the second highest scorer on the team, averaging just about 12 points a game and shooting 38% from the three-point line. Sounds similar? Because it sounds similar to me. Brooklyn Paulson stepped right in, filled those shoes of the senior Alexi Huseman, and St. Mary's got their second best player back in just a little bit of a different form. But Brooklyn Paulson is having an awesome season this year. And of course, that was my pregame spiel. She was my player to watch. And she had 0 points, went 0 for 12. Of course, Murphy's Law, everything that you say is going to happen will not happen. That's not Murphy's Law, but it's pretty close. Brooklyn Paulson had 0 points, but Brandy Blattner had 22, 13 rebounds, and the birthday girl, Abby Winter, sophomore, had 15 points as well as 16 rebounds, 2 double-doubles for the St. Mary's Cardinals. Claire Patterson had 10 points in the first quarter, and that's where she finished, but she was the igniter of that offense. Brandy Blattner and Abby Winter kept it home, took the victory home down the stretch. And again, Brooklyn Paulson 0 for 11, 0 for 5 from 3. And when you can win a game against a team that you're tied with in the standings for third place without your second best player even putting a free throw in, you know that you're a good team. Brandy Blattner, Abby Winter, Claire Patterson, and the rest of the team stepped up in place of Brooklyn Paulson in that game. And then sadly, as I said, I've been home in Chicago all weekend, so I wasn't able to go to this game against the Gusties yesterday at 1 o'clock in St. Mary's Gym in front of just under 300 people. That's something that I've been talking all week about at campus. We need to support these athletes. They're the best team on campus, and they need our help to cheer them to a playoff, hopefully a home playoff game. How awesome would that be, hosting a home game in the playoffs at St. Mary's Gym? That's what I want. That's what they want. And we need you guys to go to the games and support this team. They ended up winning yesterday 72-70 in a nail biter, back and forth all quarters long. And sadly, I can't really tell you the flow of the game or anything like that because I wasn't there. But I can look at the stat sheet and say, wow, the Gusties came to play. They had 4 players in double digits, including 19 points from Kendall Thompson. The Cardinals, Brooklyn Paulson, she showed up this game. She went 6 of 11, 4 of 7 from 3, picking up right where she left off with 16 points as well as 2 rebounds. Brandy Blattner put in 13 and 8 rebounds. Claire Patterson put in 12, and Kirsten Keefe, the senior, dropped 11 points on the Gustavus Gusties. They shot 80% from the free throw line, 48% from the field, 13 bench points. You know what? It was a starter game both ways. Gusties only had 7 bench points. Cardinals had 13. So it was a starter's game all the way. And now we get to the fun part. And that is looking to the future for this women's basketball team. They have 6 games remaining. Of those 6 games, they play 4 above 500 teams, including, 4 above 500 teams, including the best team in the conference in St. Thomas, the second best team in Augsburg, and the opponent they are tied with for third place in the Bethel Royals. It is a gauntlet, but they do have a game this Wednesday at St. Mary's against St. Olaf, a game that they should win if we didn't play the games and just looked at the standings. But of course, we do play the games. They're going to need to beat St. Olaf. They're going to need to beat Macalester, and they're going to need to beat St. Catharines if they even have a chance at retaining that home court advantage in the playoffs. Bethel is a team that has been blowing everybody out this season. Just taking a look at their results, they have beaten Macalester by 45. They beat Carleton by 48. Hamlin by 44. I mean, this team, the only teams that this Bethel's Royals basketball team has lost to was the St. Thomas Tommies twice and the Augsburg Augies twice. Bethel is not a team that's going to lie down and just hand this home court advantage to the Cardinals. Cardinals are going to need to win those games that they should win in order to have a chance at beating Bethel. Bethel, that game is next Wednesday at Bethel University at 7 o'clock, February 6th. 3 home games left for the Cardinals. Wednesday at St. Olaf, and then February 13th, St. Catherine, and then February 16th, senior night, St. Thomas. Maybe, just maybe, there'll be a little bit of senior magic against the Tommies for senior night. I know that Brandy Blattner, Kirsten Keefe, Mary Wintroff are all going to show up for their final game in St. Mary's Gymnasium. We did just get a call. I believe this is for the 16-second squeeze. Hopefully she answers. And this is a little, a little different. The sound quality. Hi, is this Alicia from Winona?
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, thanks for calling in. I communicated with you earlier. I'm sure you want to win a T-shirt. Is that correct?
That is correct. I do want to.
Okay, well, here we go. Do you know how the 16-second squeeze works?
Yes.
You do know how the 16-second squeeze works. Okay, so who do you want? Yeah. Do you want to go up against Anthony, myself, Teresa, or Katie?
I'll go against Anthony.
You'll go against Anthony. So I had 16 seconds to name as many dog breeds as I could. Dog breeds in 16 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go.
Labrador, Retriever, Bulldog, Pit Bull, Shih Tzu, Terrier, Australian Shepherd, Husky.
Okay, that's time.
Pomeranian, Chihuahua.
That's time. So how many? 8. 8 dog breeds for Alicia. Alicia, make sure you stay tuned and keep listening to find out if you win that T-shirt. Thanks for calling.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Have a great one. 8 dog breeds for Alicia. She did say a dog breed in there that you couldn't say on the radio, but you know what? We're on YouTube. So, hey, that worked out. You cannot say Shih Tzu on the radio, but you can't say it on YouTube. I could just go off on a bender right now and just start swearing up a storm. I, of course, won't, to continue my journalistic integrity as we like to do here. But she had 8 dog breeds. She named 8 dog breeds. Let's see how many I named in 16 seconds. Here we go.
Lab, German Shepherd, German Shepherd Lab mix, Pit Bull, British Bulldog, French Bulldog, Golden Retriever, Pug, Puggle, Beagle.
Okay, so I counted 11. I got Beagle at the end, but I did get a little help on Golden Retriever, so we're going to bring that down to 10. So Alicia with a strong -2 score. The live studio audience laughed when I said German Shepherd Lab mix lab. I don't know if that's necessarily cheating, but you know what? Alicia with the -2. 630-670-6330 is the phone number. Normally we do it a little bit more structured here on the show, but it's a one-man deal today. So we're rolling with the punches. Thank you so much for listening here on YouTube. And back to the women's basketball team, excuse me. Bethel has St. Benedict, St. Catherine, St. Mary's, Concordia, Gustavus, and Hamlin. Not nearly the strength of schedule remaining for the Cardinals. So again, I just want to reiterate how important it is to go out and support this team this Wednesday against St. Olaf, and then for that game against St. Catherine, because they need to win the games. Those are games that they should win, and they're going to have to if they want to retain this third place in the MIAC. Bethel faces off against St. Ben's. That's a 500 team. St. Kate's is a below 500 team. We all know about the St. Mary's team. Concordia is a below 500 team. Gustavus is a below 500 team. And Hamlin is a 500 team. They don't face a single team above 500 the remainder of the season. Very exciting team to watch. Go out and watch them, please. I talk to kids all the time at school, and they always tell me, oh, I have homework, or oh, I have work, or come on. I know. I'm a college student too. I know you're not doing homework from the time you get to your dorm room to the time that you go to bed. Maybe instead of watching Netflix and playing Xbox, go out and support your fellow athletes, especially you student athletes that I know are listening, because we need to build this community. I'm trying to be a part of it with the Squeeze, and Alec is the same way. He plays tennis at St. Mary's. We're all student athletes, and we all need to support each other. 630-670-6330 is the phone number. Alicia with the very strong -2 is in the lead right now. 630-670-6330 is that phone number if you want to win that free t-shirt and the 16-second Squeeze. Stay tuned. We'll be right back, and thank you so much for listening. Okay, you are listening to The Squeeze on YouTube at Anthony Pasquazi. If you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. Up our numbers. It is a little bit more impressive. The higher the numbers climb, we just hit our 80th follower on Twitter, which, again, doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but to me, it's awesome. It's one more person that can get the word out about this radio show. And no matter how many people are listening, I'm enjoying myself, and that's the most important. That's the most important part, right? And we're talking about St. Mary's sports, which is getting more and more exciting. It's younger, it's better than ever. And you know, track just got on the competition trail last weekend, and yesterday Desmond Stewart on his birthday. I want to give him a little bit of a shout out if he's listening out there. 21 today, 22 yesterday, actually. He won the triple jump for a career PR indoor, and he also took a top 4 finish in the long jump with a very good performance there. So congrats to him. Freshman Sydney Klauser, 4 scoring efforts yesterday in a very large invitational. I believe it was the long jump, the triple jump, the 60, and the 200 meter, if I can remember off the top of my head. So congrats to her. And Matthew Stack entered the top 5 performance list in the pole vault in his first ever collegiate meet. Congratulations, Matthew Stack. And I sadly won't be joining them for this indoor season, which is the reason why I'm here. Have a little bit of a, an injury going on, but things happen, and I'm very excited to get back out there for the outdoor season. And congrats to my teammates as they continue to strive for greatness. We saw the St. Mary's track and field and cross country Instagram just post some pictures of the distance cross country team who is running in Winona. I don't know how cold it is in Winona. I believe it's 0 degrees there. It's pretty much 0 degrees here. I think it's world record low temperatures coming up this weekend. What is it? Negative 17 in Chicago coming up with wind chills in the negative 50s, something like that. Thank the Lord I'm leaving here for once. I'm going to hit the road, go right back to Winona after the show. I'm a little nervous. My coach is a little nervous too. There will be some snow on the road, so I'm going to have to drive real nice and slow, which is always fun. But thank you for listening to The Squeeze right now on YouTube, normally on KSMR Radio at 92.5, 94.3 FM in Winona, Minnesota. Whew. I haven't done a solo show in so long. It's a whole different animal. Alec is normally there to fill in the blank spaces. I find myself just talking and talking and talking and talking. But hey, that's what I want to do for a living. And that's what I'm doing right now. We talked about the women. Let's talk about the men. The men were on an 8-game losing streak after their win at North Park University over Christmas break here in Chicago. They lost to Hamlin, Augsburg, Bethel, Carleton, McAllister, Concordia, and University of St. Thomas. And if you asked Coach Fano or really anybody on that basketball team, they would have told you they should have won about 4 of those 8 games. But hey, Gustavus Adolphus College came in to St. Mary's gym yesterday off of a loss to St. Mary's a couple months ago, where St. Mary's walked into Gustavus and took them down. I remember traveling to that game. That was the first time in 39 years that the Cardinals had beaten Gustavus at Gustavus. And now for the first time in 39 years, the Cardinals have swept Gustavus in the season series. Congratulations to Coach Fano, and congratulations to all of the guys in that effort. They beat Gustavus 79-64 handedly, 15-point victory. And Caden Freetley was my standout player of the game. He was on the show last weekend, had a lot of nice comments about him and his personality and how smart he is. And my grandma even said that he was her favorite interview that I've ever done on The Squeeze, and she is a very loyal listener. So thank you, Grandma. And Caden, you're welcome for the compliments. But Caden had, how many points did he have? Caden had 11 points. He had 12 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 4 steals. What a day for the freshman, Caden Freetley. 3 of 8 from the three-point line, and he nailed his free throws. Free throws is something that this team has been struggling with all season long, and every coach, I know Fano is no different than any other coach, hit your free throws. They did yesterday, shooting 11 of 13 for just under 85%, and that could have been the difference as the Gusties shot a mere 70% from the free throw line. They also were lights out from behind the arc, 41.7%, and shot 52% from the field, topping the Gusties in nearly every single category. Topping the MIAC in a lot of categories is Eli Cave. Eli has been in the top 4 scoring leaders all season long. He has been hitting a little bit of a drop off lately, but 6 games to go. I know that he is striving to put the ball in the basket and get some more wins for this St. Mary's Cardinals team. I talked to him a couple days ago, and he said, I asked him if he's going to stay for his 5th year, because he does have that eligibility left. And he said, my goal is to hit 1,000 points. So hopefully he stays for those 5 years and achieves that goal. Every time a 1,000 point scorer happens in the MIAC Instagram posts a congratulatory post, and I'm sure he wants to feel that. He's worked very hard to get back to this point. As you heard earlier in the year, he tore almost every ligament in his knee and is back 1 year later, almost leading the MIAC in scoring, top 10 in rebounding, top 6 in free throws per game. And this is something, Eli, if you're listening, I know you know this already, but Eli is top 6 in the MIAC in free throws per game. But out of those 6, he's 4th in free throw percentage at just around 62%. So Eli, if you want to, make that leap from 17, 18 points a game to 22, 25 points a game, that's how you do it. Make your free throws, Eli. Go out shooting this summer. I know. I'm preaching to the choir here, but make your free throws, and he could be in MIAC Player of the Year. I said it a lot at the beginning of the season, and people laughed at me, and I was wrong, of course. There was a little bit of a drop-off when you start playing the Tommies and the Royals and the Johnnies. You're just going to score less. It just makes sense. They're very good teams. They're very good defensive teams. But, hey, you know what? Eli Cave, hopefully all MIAC honors, hopefully first-team all MIAC honors. In my mind, I think he deserves it. And eventually, MIAC Player of the Year is in his future. I see it, All-American, hopefully. Eli Cave is a great guy. A lot of players on this team are great guys. I was talking to some people a couple days ago, and I was just saying, man, I'm not really a journalist, but being a sports media person is so difficult because you get to know these guys and you get to know these coaches, and you just really enjoy their company and you enjoy being around them, but you have to be critical of them. And I've had a tough time so far this season of being critical of them, and I'm sure I'll grow as the show grows and as I get better. Alec and I will become more comfortable with criticizing the teams at St. Mary's as much as we praise them, because there's been a lot of praise this year, but I've had my rose-colored glasses on all season long for this men's basketball team. They won 1 game last year. They've already won 7 this year, I believe. And they have 6 games left to go. A very good turnaround. That's what happens when you get your best player back. And that's what happens when you get a very talented young coach in his first ever head coaching situation. So the men's basketball team, things are looking up. They only lose 1 senior this year, Bradley Hill. He has been a contributor this season, but not nearly as much as Alexi Huseman for the girls. He's only averaging about 5 points a game. It will hurt to see his leadership walk out the door, but I'm sure that this team will be able to fill his shoes and continue to grow under Coach Fano in their second year. A lot of parallels with the Bears I see going on here. Not nearly as good of a team, but I'm telling you right now, put it in stone. Write it. I'm going to tweet it. I'm going to retweet it, and I might even pin it. This team is going to make the playoffs next year. We're going to have 2 basketball teams in the MIAC playoffs for the first time in a heck of a lot of years. I don't know it. I'm not going to pretend to know it, but I'm sure it's been a long time. So put it in stone right now. I'm going to pin it on the Squeeze Twitter. I'm going to pin it on my Twitter. The St. Mary's basketball team is making the MIAC playoffs next season. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back. Keep it up. We're going to talk Sean McVay. We're going to talk NFL. We might even talk a little bit of baseball coming up after the break. I'm sure you've heard about Sean McVay. How could you not? He's a boy wonder of the NFL. But we're going to give you, hopefully, some things you did not know about him after the break. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned. We're back. You are listening to The Squeeze on YouTube, normally on KSMR Radio, 92.5 FM on campus and 94.3 FM in Winona, Minnesota, as well as online at smumn.edu/KSMR, KSMR Real College Radio. Not today, though. We are just a YouTube live stream show. Good practice, I think, for myself to be able to do this in my cozy little room here in Chicago, Illinois. I was home for the weekend. I'll be back tonight in Winona and right back into that grind, that college grind. Homework, practice, repeat. Homework, practice, class, repeat. There it is. So Sean McVay teased it a little bit before the break. Sean McVay is 33 years old. Math in my head. 14. It's 14 years older than me. That's 14 years older than myself. He's half the age of the 66-year-old Bill Belichick. He's the youngest Super Bowl coach in the history of the NFL, 3 years younger than Mike Tomlin was in Super Bowl 46. 33 years old. I don't know. Do I see myself coaching the LA Rams in 14 years to the Super Bowl? No, I don't. And I don't think he did either. When he was in college, he was at Miami of Ohio playing football, playing wide receiver. And guess who was quarterbacking the opposing team twice in his career? I'm sure you've heard this story, but here we go. Julian Edelman was the quarterback of Kent State, while Sean McVay was facing off against him as the wide receiver on the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. So put that in perspective. The best wide receiver, a player on the New England Patriots, is as old as the head coach of the I almost said St. Louis, of the Super Bowl Los Angeles Rams. This guy is a boy wonder. I don't know if you've heard the clips of him going back 5 years ago to every single play, being able to name what the play was, what the outcome was. He even remembered the meme that came out of his Redskins game a couple years ago, and that was the "You Like That" by Purple Jay Cutler, Kirk Cousins, when he was a Redskin. This guy can do no wrong. Beautiful dude. He's got a beautiful wife. I'm sure he's going to have a beautiful family. I'm sure he has a great house. He's making a lot of money. And he's coaching the Los Angeles Rams. Not only is he coaching the Los Angeles Rams, but that was a team that just a few years ago was in the most boring city in the United States, St. Louis. So he could have been coaching the Rams in St. Louis, but instead waited until they got to Los Angeles. This guy is living the life, and there's a lot of resentment for him. And I don't feel that way. I'm a young person. I'm 19 years old, so I'm not going to hate when some other young person makes it big. He's only 33. I can't believe that. I really can't. And who doesn't want to see the Patriots go down again? Tom Brady has 5 rings. He's going for his 6th to tie Michael Jordan. I think if he wins this 6th one, even my argument that Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback of all time is out the window. Sean McVay has a chance. Sean McVay, Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Aaron Donald, they have a chance to take down those New England Patriots next weekend in Atlanta. We'll see what happens, though. And if we did give you some predictions, and we did talk about the AFC-NFC championship game, this is the Super Bowl that I would have said I least wanted to see. There were almost no storylines other than the McVay-Belichick age difference storyline, half his age. That's kind of cool. But my favorite Super Bowl would have been the Patriots and the Saints. Drew Brees versus Tom Brady. I'm sure the winner of that Super Bowl would have walked off into the sunset, retired with their last ring. Hopefully that would have been Drew Brees. What a story that could have been. There would have been so many intertangled storylines to that game. My next favorite Super Bowl would have been the Rams and the Chiefs. A rematch of that 54-51 game from a couple months ago at this point. No defense at all. Just a lot of points. 54-51. That would have been an awesome rematch to watch in the Super Bowl. I mean, how cool would that have been? My third favorite Super Bowl would have been the Chiefs-Saints. Just because I like the MVP, Patrick Mahomes, going up against Drew Brees, a much more likable quarterback than Tom Brady. And my least favorite matchup would have been the one that we got. So good thing I didn't say it, because I would have betted against these two teams to make it to the Super Bowl. But you know what? It's a Super Bowl. And you know gosh darn well that I'm going to be watching it and that you're going to be watching it and that we're all going to enjoy the commercials in between and the spectacle that is the highest viewed television show in the world every single year. Super Bowl, what is this? 50-something. 53, I think. 53. Super Bowl 53. Rams and Patriots. 630-670-6330 is the phone number. Alicia thought that she lost, but I guess she didn't understand the way that the 16-second squeeze works. She's in the lead right now. She's going to end up with that squeeze t-shirt, that very highly coveted squeeze t-shirt. 630-670-6330 is the phone number. We'll be right back. We're going to talk some Cubs, some Cardinals, and some Chris Bryant comments after the break. Thanks for listening. You're watching The Squeeze. We'll be right back. Okay, you are listening to The Squeeze with Anthony Pasquesi on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening. If you're going back and listening to this a little bit later in the week, that's just as good with me, you know. Thanks for any support that you give us. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at The Squeeze, the numeral 4. I'm on Twitter at Anthony_Pass. Alec Rude is on Twitter at AlecRude10. Follow us, support us, retweet, answer polls, just do whatever you can to help us out because we really do appreciate it. I know every time I just got followed by the St. Mary's basketball coach, the St. Mary's women's basketball coach, the St. Mary's women's basketball team. And every time I get a follow, I'm just reassured that somebody new is going to listen. I know it. I know somebody new is going to listen. But enough about me. Let's talk about the Chicago Cubs. The Chicago Cubs signed 2 relievers over the weekend, one of which is Brad Brach. Brad Brach had a career low 1.59 ERA in about 27 innings last season. He was hurt, though. So Cubs going out and signing another hurt pitcher. Their track record has not been so good lately. Yu Darvish, Brandon Morrow, now Brad Brach. Let's hope that he turns the corner, turns that trend around, and he'll be ready to go on opening day. Maybe a closer role. Brandon Morrow is going to be out for the beginning of the season, so Brad Brach may be thrust into that closing role early in the season, and hopefully there'll be a nice 1-2 punch. Brandon Morrow, a healthy Brandon Morrow, and a healthy Brad Brach. Yu Darvish. This is at the beginning of the season, beginning of the offseason, I said Bryce Harper is going to be a Cub. I want Bryce Harper to be a Cub. This is going to be awesome. They're going to make a trade. They're going to make cap room. They're going to trade one of their young outfielders. We're going to make room for this superstar 6-win player, Bryce Harper. And the more I thought about it, and the more I realized it wasn't going to happen, the more I thought to myself, they don't need Bryce Harper. They don't need a 6-win player. Do you know where they can get a 6-win player? A healthy Kris Bryant, a healthy Yu Darvish, a rehabilitated Addison Russell. Javi Baez just has to play. I mean, if he's a fraction of what he was last season, the Cubs are going to be a great team this year. If you have a healthy Kris Bryant, a healthy Yu Darvish, a fixed Tyler Chatwood, a healthy Cole Hamel, I mean, there's a lot that has to go right for this team to reclaim their spot atop the National League and atop the MLB, but it's all there. There's nothing that they have to do more. There's nothing else that they have to do for this team to succeed. The only thing standing in the way of this team to succeed is this team. Kyle Schwarber needs to be better. Kris Bryant needs to be healthy. Addison Russell needs to be better. Almora, Happ, the pitching staff. If they can play up to their MLB The Show 19 ratings, if they can play up to those ratings, they will be one of the best team in Major League Baseball. And you cannot tell me, normally I'm talking to somebody who isn't a Cubs fan and they can be a little less biased about this, but you cannot tell me as an observer of Major League Baseball that this team does not have every piece already in place to be a championship contender. I don't care that the Brewers exceeded expectations last year, and I care a little bit. I don't really care that Andrew Miller and Paul Goldschmidt are Cardinals this season either. The NL Central has gotten better, but you know what? The Cubs got worse last season, not because they lost a bunch of players or because they didn't sign the best free agent in free agency. You know why they weren't the best team in the NL Central last year? Because they didn't play up to their own potential. And if they do that this season, I know progression isn't linear, but it took a nosedive last season. So if that recoups just a little bit, this team is going to be exciting to watch, very fun to watch. And I'm just baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport. It always has been. I wish I was better at it because baseball is a little more exciting than track. But you know what? God-given abilities. You can't choose your God-given abilities. I was given the ability to jump really far. I just can't throw a baseball at 100 miles an hour. But baseball has always been my favorite sport to watch. Going to Wrigley Field as a kid, more often, more frequently as a young adult. It is my favorite experience every summer is going to Wrigley Field with my family, with my friends, and just taking in baseball. There's a beauty to baseball. It's kind of like sports radio. It's really slow and there's not a lot of flashy things to look at. It's just sport. That's all it is. There's no craziness on the jumbotrons and there's no crazy loud music during breaks and intermissions. It's just baseball. There's just a beauty to baseball. Next weekend, we'll be back in studio with Alec Rude. We'll get our groove back. Hopefully, I've been out of it just a little bit. If you've noticed, I have been. I'm going to be honest. But We'll be back next week. We're going to have a baseball and softball prelude to the season. They begin spring training next week. We're going to talk about how their season finished off last year and what we expect them to do this season, as well as talk about track. We'll have a couple athletes in on the show as always. And then expect a Coach Fano interview in a couple of weeks for a postseason recap of how he thought that his season finished up this year. Thank you so much for listening on this kind of weird platform that is YouTube. No radio show today. We'll be back next week from 10 to 12 on KSMR Radio, 93.5 FM and 92.5 and 94.3 FM in Winona, Minnesota. Thanks for listening. Tune in next week. Follow us on Twitter. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll talk to you later.